SnowTrax is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Ski-Doo Snowmobiles. Yamaha, revs your heart. And by iPone Lubricants, exclusively distributed by Parts Canada.
I don't think there's ever been a sled more anticipated than Arctic Cat's Catalyst. For over a decade, the entire industry has been waiting with bated breath to see what the Thief River crew would come up with next. And our anticipation is entirely warranted. After all, the minds at Arctic Cat have been responsible for some of the most important innovations this industry has ever seen. We have Arctic Cat to thank for a lot of what we enjoy about modern snowmobiles. So it's not unreasonable to expect that the next generation of Arctic Cat snowmobile would be something interesting and impressive, and possibly even revolutionary. And the long wait only made this anticipation grow. There's no denying the fact that Arctic Cat faithful were getting tired of waiting though. Some even jumped ship, at least until a new Cat chassis hit the snow. Still, no one really lost hope. It was coming, it was just a matter of when. Today, we know. The next generation of Arctic Cat chassis is the Catalyst. Now it's not an update, it's not a redo, and it's not a tweak. And first impressions couldn't be better. But the question still remains. How did we get here? After so long, what were the goals with the Catalyst? What makes it unique? And what did it take to finally get it on the snow?
The goal with the design of the Catalyst is not completely start from scratch with an all-new snowmobile. Use a lot of our heritage and legacy knowledge and incorporate that with lightweight features, mass centralization, part commonization, better serviceability, better performance, and bring that all together to create a unique snowmobile that is unlike any other.
With numerous design goals in mind, there was one that took precedent over everything else. And while it's definitely not new, I don't think it's ever been done this well before.
The biggest thing that we saw early on in the project was the effect of mass centralization on this chassis. The first concepts we got on the snow were prototyped, maybe not using the exact materials we wanted. So we weren't hitting the exact weight target we wanted, but just the features of where we were putting components on the vehicle, we saw very quickly that it's not only the magnitude of the weight, is where that weight's placed that has a huge impact on how that vehicle rides and performs.
Now, as I said, mass centralization is nothing new in the industry and certainly not to Arctic Cat, but with the Catalyst, no opportunity was spared to maximize its potential.
So mass centralization has always been, on the forefront of our designs with Arctic Cat, especially, which helped us design the laydown engine and really bring that engine closer to the front heat exchanger. But when we came to Catalyst, we took it a step further. We got the engine lower than we ever have before by integrating the lower engine mounts to the chassis, bringing the drivetrain closer to the engine with different center distances that we tested through and validated. Unique gas tank designs that brought the mass closer, further forward to the engine, and just doing everything we can to tuck and pull inches and millimeters of mass closer to that engine. A little change did a lot.
The single heaviest component of a snowmobile, other than you, the rider, is the engine, which is why it's one of the most important aspects of mass centralization.
The laydown 600 engine is nothing new to the Catalyst, but we really took advantage of the opportunity to package everything lower and tighter again, moving the engine roughly 25 millimeters lower and closer to the front heat exchanger. And with that engine placement, the exhaust comes with it, electrical comes with it, a lot of heavy components, which all add to the value of mass centralization, which is the core around this vehicle and improving the performance.
This brings up an important point and is something we've been asked about a lot. Is the 600 enough to impress first-year buyers of the Catalyst? The answer is yes, and the reason is that this isn't the 600 you've ridden before.
This 600 is unique. It is fresh to the year. It's got some better improvements on engine calibration and different crank design that makes it more powerful. It's got all new intake, all new exhaust, better fuel mapping, better servo control. It really does feel like an all-new 600 when you hit the throttle, and that's not just because of the reduction in weight or the drivetrain efficiencies we felt. We've seen it on the dyno, and now that coupled with this all-new vehicle, lighter, better efficiencies, really is a home run.
SnowTrax is sponsored by Hercules Tire. Ride in our strength.
While mass centralization and lightweight were key, and the 600 engine is definitely a beast, there are so many other interesting things about the Catalyst that make it unique. The one that most people will latch onto right away is that it's the first modern production trail sled to come with a belt drive from the factory. And there's so much more to it than just the cool factor. First, it eliminates a long list of heavy parts and replaces them with a shorter list of lighter parts. Second, it's quiet, which isn't something you typically think about, but once you experience it, you notice it immediately. But why has Arctic Cat been able to make a belt drive work on a trail sled where others haven't?
With the all-new drivetrain on the Catalyst, being belt drive across the board, we've done a lot of extensive testing, proven the fact on the durability that we've done that this belt drive can live up to the test of not only our standard durability, but also cross-country racing durability, as we've done. Reasons why is the unique way that the tensioning system works and how we've designed our sprocket and our geometry to what they need to be on a durability cycle. And that, incorporated with a lot of our engine mounting design and systems, allows us to get by with a robust belt drive design across all models. The theory is that the TCL is kind of an absorption link for that spike load. When there's a spike load to the drive shaft and the belt drive system, the driven shaft is allowed to move somewhat because it's rubber mounted. Our system is the perfect amount of flexibility in the drivetrain to allow that belt drive to live.
When it comes to suspension, engineers again looked at every part and angle to maximize efficiency and improve ride quality and handling.
A lot of the geometry did change, but the legacy and heritage of Arctic Cat remain the same. If you look at the front suspension, to the eye, it looks the same with a different spindle design, but we did take some weight out by reducing the distance between the upper and lower ball joint. Again, just touching every system to reduce weight, improve where we can without sacrificing the knowledge and the geometry that we know is proven and works really well. The 129 is an all-new rear 129 suspension. A lot of the parts are shared with the 137. It does have the long race front arm on it for packaging reasons. It's an uncoupled skid, give that rider the ability to move forward and position his weight to get the vehicle to do what he wants it to do or she wants it to do. The rear suspensions on I'll start with the 137, is very similar to today's 137. However, there are subtle changes we've done with moving some geometry around to either better track tension or better shock movement and positioning. A lot of those same parts are carryover, like the arms and the shocks and whatnot, but the valving is different. Springing is different. This vehicle is 10% lighter, so it takes a lot different calibration to get that sled to work.
When you move rearward on the sled, even more cool design features emerge. The one-piece tunnel and running board mounting system is in reality pretty genius when you stop and think about it. First of all, the running boards are composite, not aluminum. They are made from a proprietary material that is extremely strong and durable, but that stays flexible in the cold. There's only one running board across the entire Catalyst lineup, but how it mounts to the one-piece tunnel is unique to each model.
The all-new composite running boards are very unique. The ability to shed snow, dampen vibration in the rider's foot, make it a very unique and interesting design. Also, the running boards are shared between all the segments of the Catalyst. The all-new tunnel design is it's a lightweight feature. It's more durable. How it integrates to the chassis still makes it very serviceable for the end consumer and the dealer. Along with the running boards, the toe stops and the rear kick-ups are made from the same composite material. Very durable, very resistant to impact in cold weather.
If there was one thing I noticed immediately when I first sat on the Catalyst, it was the ergonomics. They are completely different than a Procross, and in my opinion, they're darn near perfect.
So the ergonomics of this vehicle are, second to none in my opinion, which is a very biased opinion, but how they kind of came about was, starting this design, we laid out everything from the inside moving out. And when we did that, we moved everything as low as we could, and then just shrunk the plastics as close to those components as we could. And basically in the end, you end up with what you have here. Letting the function of the vehicle determine the style was a big contributor to that, and that's what you feel.
While there is a lot more to talk about when it comes to the design of the Catalyst, there is only so much time available. What is important to know now, though, is that Arctic Cat is back with a new platform that doesn't just bring innovation for the sake of impressive numbers. It's uniquely designed to be a better snowmobile than anything else we've seen from them before. And there's no question that it is in every conceivable way.
Trail Tech is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
You know, keeping your sled maintained and being able to tune it is really important, but what about those specialty tools that it seems that only the dealerships have? Well, stick around and I'm going to show you how you can get your mitts on some of those. Right up front, one of the coolest and functional kits for you Skidoo or Lynx riders is the Straight Line P-Drive and QRS Clutch Service Kit. It's a fully integrated setup of everything you're going to need to not only remove, but disassemble your P-Drive or QRS clutch. So you're probably thinking, yeah, but this is like a $700 kit. That's a bit expensive. You're right, it's not cheap, but here's the reality. The P-Drive and the QRS aren't going anywhere. And you probably know 8 to 10 other people who have that clutch setup on their Skidoo or Lynx. So you can either rent it out to them or go in as a group buy and voila, you and your whole crew can tune your clutches. The SLP kit comes with a clutch puller and the clutch holding tool, so it not only makes an easier task, but ultimately safer. Once you have the P-Drive off the sled, you have your vice-mounted compression tool that helps to remove the spring pressure when you separate the clutch to get the spring out. Now on the QRS secondary side of the kit comes the removal tool as well as the QRS helix removal tool, so you can completely tune your Skidoo or Lynx clutches all by yourself. Now the Straight Line kit has all kinds of applications, but the reality is the P-Drive and the QRS really don't need all that much service, so this kit really is for those of you who want to tune your clutches and play with the performance of your sled. And in that application, this kit works awesome. Now along the lines of specialty service tools, Kimpex also has cool slide rail tools to make replacement a breeze. And I can't help but say it, these are great to go in with just a few friends to lower the cost and be able to share. So the slide puller is a unique tool. Now it just simply attaches to your slide rail. You screw it in with a couple of small screws and fasten it to the slide rail itself, and then essentially it's just a slide hammer and it pulls that thing right out. Very simple. Sure, your local dealership can swap out your sliders, but why wouldn't you tackle some of this work yourself and have the pride of knowing that you fixed it? It's an easy afternoon job in the summer. Just be ready for your buddies to drop off their sleds too. When you're replacing slide rails, you need to get the right angle on the cut, whether it be flat at the front or angled at the back. You want to make sure you do this properly, and getting that right cut can sometimes be a little bit tough. And so the Kimpex Universal Slide Rail Cutter will work for all types and profiles of slide rails and offers a straight 90-degree cut or a 35-degree cut for the rear. You get a clean cut every time thanks to a ratcheting handle, and it's not just precise, it's almost effortless, and means you don't have any dust from sawing or using a rotary tool to tidy up your rough cut. It retails for around 40 bucks Canadian, and it's a great tool to keep beside the slide rail puller for the complete replacement kit. And last but not least is the Kimpex Connect system. Sure, your sled brand does have a whole lot of accessories that'll clip onto the rear of your tunnel, but so does Kimpex Connect, and they come in at a really reasonable price. Kimpex Connect offers mounting rails for your sled that allow their products to adapt to any sled tunnel no matter the brand. Today we have rails for Skidoo and Lynx, and when used in conjunction with the Kimpex Connect mounting base, I can snap any of the Connect accessories in any configuration, from gas tanks to soft cases like this 46-liter Explorer tunnel bag, or for the days I need bigger and more secure storage, I can opt for the injection molded 50-liter cargo box with built-in carry handles and lockable latches. The options really are endless. Whether it's being ready for the season, having your sled maintained with the proper tools, or having the proper equipment and gear on your sled to take along the stuff you want with you during the season, Kimpex has got you covered from all angles.
SnowTrax has been sponsored by Arctic Cat Snowmobiles. The regions of Quebec by the sea. Discover our ride ideas. FXR Racing. Maximum versatility for all conditions. And by MBRP Performance Exhaust. Built for the victory lap.
It's no surprise that the biggest news and most questions in 2023 have circled around and revolved about the Polaris Patriot Boost motor. No, not out in the mountains, but here on the flatlands, and how usable that power is where most of our questions have rolled in. This is one mighty machine, so make sure you stick around, and I'm going to answer all of those questions that us here at SnowTrax TV have experienced during this season. Before diving into the real results of those questions, which I am going to tell you, let's take a better look at what makes the Boost such a potent power pack and why a turbo two-stroke on the trail does work, despite many naysayers from every corner of the industry. And let's be clear, it was suggested from many that a turbo two-stroke would not and could not work effectively and properly to increase power at sea level, running strictly on premium pump gas, without the use of any race fuel or other substances being injected as aftermarket turbo companies have previously offered as bolt-on turbo kits. Obviously, there was some pretty big preconceived notions about turbo lag to overcome, and the reality is turbo lag is real. But when it comes to the Patriot Boost, Polaris has used some pretty interesting technology to get rid of all of these notions. Through the use of a boost box with a built-in pressure-sensitive reed-style valve, as well as the main expansion pipe electronic bypass valve wastegate, the Boost builds pressure elusively in the boost box and offers a naturally aspirated feel from the reed valve intaking ambient air. Once the boost pressure is achieved in the intake box, the reed snaps closed and only accepts the boosted charge into the engine. The pressure of the boost system at sea level is only about 3 psi, and so the electronic wastegate is used on the head pipe to dump excess pressure past the turbo and into the silencer. At altitude, the Boost can make up to 9 psi. The system works well and truly makes a seamless transition from the naturally aspirated intake feel to the boosted power we have come to enjoy. And as for turbo lag, you quite literally can't feel any because the engine won't allow it with the dual intake style system. Add to this the very short charge tube from the turbo to the intake and the very unique injection oil turbo lube system, and you've got what's shown to be a very reliable and very responsive system, proven in the mountains and now proven on the flatlands during the 2023 season. And reliability is a huge concern, and justifiably so, but you have to remember that the Patriot 850 was designed with the Boost in mind right from its original inception way back when. And back at Heydays in 2021, I talked to Ricky Yeager, who's the director of powertrain in the snow division of Polaris, and confirmed precisely that, so it's boilerplate fact. Now, all this tech info is really interesting, but I know the real question that we've had, as I alluded to earlier, is how usable is that Boost power, and is it just too much out on the flatland trails? And keep in mind, Polaris says that the Boost is 10% more power than the naturally aspirated version 850, which we assume to be around 165 horsepower, meaning approximately 181.5 horsepower on the Boost. However, independent aftermarket companies have dynoed the Boost and shown it up to a whopping 195 horsepower. The truth behind the drivability of the Boost comes down to way more than just the power plant. I mean, if this thing had terrible ergos and handling, then it would be scary, like turbo nitro scary, but it's not. In my opinion, the Polaris has one of the most predictable front ends in the business and a very solid rear riding skid, so adding more horsepower only increases confidence. Using the P22 clutch, stiffened rails, and a specific adjustable transfer block for the Boost, the corner-to-corner seamless transition of naturally aspirated feel to on-boost pull can only be explained as linear. No mid-range light switch on-off boosted feel. Nothing to make you nervous, just continuous power throughout the power band, which can sometimes feel endless. Like the horsepower lines of the dyno chart would need to be extended because it just never ends. But interestingly enough, a chop of the throttle in the twisty corners and then back on the gas also doesn't cause concern because of that reed valve integrated into the airbox. While saying it's better sounds pretty simple, it is the truth. The Polaris Smart Boost system really does deliver. Here at SnowTrax World Headquarters, we literally fight over who gets to ride our boosted Polarises when we go out for a ride. And the consensus from every single person who's ridden one is exactly the same. Firstly, they can't believe it's turbocharged because there's zero felt lag. And secondly, they can't believe how much power the engine makes. Most notably, the power that's produced at and past 80 miles per hour. The arm stretching power that you feel after 3/4 throttle input is just plain staggering. Grabbing more throttle sets you back in the seat and pushes you back so hard you wonder how it's physically possible. The smiles per mile from a ride on the Boost is impressive. And with a factory 2-year warranty, Polaris is standing behind their design. Will there be competition in the future? Sure. With how good this Boost works, I can't imagine that other manufacturers aren't going to come with a similar design. But for right now, Polaris has the market captivated. And when you get out on this lightweight turbo 2-stroke, you realize that it delivers every single time.